If anything, maybe the rumor is exaggerated. A high-difficulty demon appeared. A few teams took it on. The team that dealt the final blow was Raven Black. That's more plausible. Anyone stronger than Orichalcum rank is crammed into adamantite, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was someone that strong. There has to be a wide range of adamantite abilities, so Hecarim shares my opinion. But do you, sir, deem the stories true? Higher. Well, not all of them. So seeing is believing. I'd like to meet him someday, sort of. Just as the other two were agreeing with Hecarim, they heard the sound of flesh being struck, and they heard a woman's stifled scream. The eyes of all the workers present gathered on one point. Several who expected an emergency were already lowering their hips to take a combat-ready stance. The scream had come from a woman on Elia's team. She was now collapsed at his feet. Given the circumstances, no one had any doubt that he'd knocked her down. Looking up at his face twisted in anger, she begged for forgiveness, frightened. Hecarim suppressed the disgust welling up from the pit of his stomach. Something flashed across his mind, and he turned hurriedly to check on Amina. Just as he imagined, all emotion had drained from her face. He sensed a dangerous energy, as though she might attack at any moment. He hurriedly signaled to Robodick and Arch next to her that they should intervene. Personally, he felt the same as Amina, but he couldn't go sticking his nose into other teams' business. It wasn't impossible, but if he were going to do it, he'd have to be ready to take full responsibility for the outcome. Several members of other teams were grimacing in disgust, but for the same reason as him, none of them moved to do anything either. Somehow, reason won over. Amina made an obscene gesture at Elia's back and spat on the ground. I guess he's only equal to the captain of the Royal Select when it comes to fencing. It would be great if he were his equal in humanity too, but I guess that's too much to hope for. Well, shall we call that good for the small talk? Yes, you're here now, so we have some important things to decide. Who will act as overall commander? He has already declined. A silence fell. There were 4 teams total. They were certainly an impressive force, but without someone to unify them and give direction, they wouldn't be very well coordinated. It didn't matter how many arms one had. If they couldn't be used at the same time, it was the same as having one. Managing these teams with their different personalities would be difficult, and doing it without getting complained at would be nearly impossible. Whoever took charge would be hated by the other teams if their orders led to failure, or if they were suspected of prioritizing their own team's reward. Frankly, for how much skill it demanded, the job had more cons than pros. Knowing that, the team leaders remained silent and tried to gauge one another's moods. They seemed to want to push it on the one who brought it up. After a minute of silence, Hecarim finally said, looking exhausted, honestly, are we probably fine without an overall commander? Isn't that just putting off the issue? We'll have a problem once a battle begins. I propose taking turns. That should get us through this with the least discontent. We can confer once more when we arrive at the ruins. Right. Hecarim and Palpatra agreed to Gringham's suggestion. Then shall we take turns going in the order we arrived? What should we do about Uzruth's team Tenbu? That little punk won't care if we skip him. He's not really qualified anyway. I agree, sir. Then I from Heavy Masher shall take the liberty of leading first. Thanks, Gringham. Counting on you, young un. Yes, sir. The chance of any savage monsters appearing within the Empire is as good as non-existent. The problems will start once we enter the kingdom, especially as we near the Tove woodlands. Maybe we should have gone in reverse order. Hecarim jokingly cradled his head in his hands, and the other two laughed quietly. Then they immediately tensed up and turned to face a man walking toward the group of workers. Everyone else was already looking his way. It was finally light out. The Count's butler was approaching across the lawn. His back was straight as he walked, the appropriate posture for one serving a count. When he arrived before the workers, he bowed. No one responded in kind, but he took no notice and began to speak. It is time. Thank you very much for taking on the Count's request. 2 men from the house will accompany you. There will also be a total of 6 adventurers to guard the wagons. Your destination is an area of unexplored ruins located in the kingdom, what seems to be a tomb. You will stay there to make your survey for 3 days. Additional compensation will depend on what my master gains from the information you bring him. This will be decided at a later date. Are there any questions? The butler didn't say much, that was different from what they'd already heard. The only new information was that adventurers would be attached as guards. They were interested in where the tip on the ruins had come from, but every worker knew the difference between questions that would get answered and questions that wouldn't. They would have already heard anything likely to be shared at the request stage. Besides, if it was a clean job, the Count would have used adventurers. The requester was sure to be tight-lipped about a dirty job. It was safer for everyone not to ask. Very well, I will lead you to the wagons we have prepared. There were no objections. Everyone followed behind him. The members of Foresight brought up the rear. That piece of shit should die. What do you think? Should we kill him? Unable to hold back her hatred for Elia, Emina began spewing it into Hekron's ear the moment she was next to him. Was her voice lowered because she was seething, or because she had retained some self-control? He couldn't tell, but he hoped it was the latter. I'd heard the rumors, but he truly is a despicable man, isn't he? The worst. The other two didn't hide their disgust either. That was only natural for Foresight. With a woman like Emina as a member, the things Elia did were unforgivable to them. All the members of Elia's team besides Elia were women, elf women. If that were all, neither Emina nor her teammates would have taken issue. But there was a reason they unanimously declared him a vile bastard. Although all the women had the minimum amount of gear, the material and make of it was shabby, and their long elven ears, which should have been sticking out from under their cropped hair, had been sliced off. They were in that condition because all of Elia's team members were elf slaves from the slain theocracy. The Empire's slavery system had changed a lot under the previous emperor. They had slaves in name, but the slaves' actual status was somewhat different. There were still some slaves, however, such as the subhumans made to fight in the arena, for whom nothing had changed. The elf slaves Elia had with him were that kind. The Baharuth Empire, Rey Estai's kingdom, and slain theocracy were made up of nearly 100% humans and had a more exclusionary attitude toward non-human races than other countries in the area. For that reason, even other humanoids like Emina, who was a half-elf, found them difficult to live with. The only exception was dwarves. A dwarf kingdom was located in the Azalisia Mountains. These mountains ran along the border between the Baharuth Empire and the Rey Estai's kingdom. Since the Empire traded with them, the dwarf race was a properly protected class. I feel bad for the elves too, but our job right now isn't to save them. Emina sighed deeply. She knew that logically. Her emotions just couldn't keep up. Let us go, Emina replied simply and walked out in front as they increased their speed a little to catch up with the others. Then everyone's eyes popped open in surprise. The butler had led them to two rather large covered wagons. These wagons were being prepared for the trip to the ruins. A group of people was loading them with supplies. They must have been the adventurers the butler had mentioned. The plates around their necks sparkled gold. Their surprise wasn't at these people, but at the horses that would pull the wagons. Sleipnir's voices gasped in astonishment. 8-legged Sleipnirs were bigger than normal horses. They were also superior in terms of muscular strength, stamina, and mobility. This is why they were considered the best magical beast on land. Of course, that made them worth a lot more than 5 warhorses. It was rare for even nobles to possess them, but the Count had 2 hitched to each wagon, for a total of 4. He probably considered the possibility that they could be lost during the adventure, so all the workers could do was applaud his resolution. Or does he think there is enough treasure in the ruins that we need Sleipnirs to carry it all back? Some of the others must have been thinking the same thing. There were several audible gulps. Please use these wagons. Food and other supplies are packed inside. We've also employed some adventurers to guard the wagons and your campsite. Please bear in mind that their contract strictly prohibits them from entering the ruins. Hekron left his friends and jogged over to Gringham, thinking they needed to have a meeting right away. Excuse me, Gringham, there's something I want to talk to you about. What is it? Did something happen? It's about how to split up the wagons. Do you think my team could be separate from Tenbu's? Huh? Oh, I understand your anxiety. It's about her, right? Then my team will go with Tenbu. Thanks a lot. Make no mention of it. For this job we Ray companions. I am not interested in having any spats before we even begin our survey of the ruins. Do you think we'll be okay with gold rank adventurers? We'll have problems if we get back and our base is destroyed or monsters slip past them while we Ray sleeping. The pair turned toward the loud voice. It was a sudden comment, launched like a fireball. It was Elia shouting at the butler. At the sound of his voice, he hadn't even tried to be discreet. The adventurers stopped loading the supplies as if time had frozen. When looking up, there were always farther heights. No one could tell if they would be able to climb to them or not. To people who nevertheless advanced step by step, Elia's comment was utterly offensive. They too lived in a struggle for power. Having a job end with their abilities in question, especially by the requester, would impact future jobs. They needed to show off their capability in an indisputable way. The man who hurled this abuse was considered unforgivable by the workers and adventurers alike. He couldn't put himself in other people's shoes, which is why he went on without even noticing how sour the atmosphere had gotten. They were fine for carrying luggage, I understand. I am only concerned about whether they can keep danger away or not. For crying out loud, nothing good will come of this tension. I imagine they'll just take it since this is for work, but still, it was true that all the worker teams present were probably mithril equivalent. In other words, they were stronger than the adventurers. Still, there were things that were all right to say, and things that weren't. Somebody make him stop, even if you have to hit him. The workers' eyes were hard as they glanced at one another. Hecarim ran over to Amina. She'd be in danger if a sword fight broke out. But the one who struck wasn't any of the workers. Sir Uzruth, correct. We assure you there will be no problems. That's assuming we work together, right? If that's the case, then it makes more sense. No, it's because someone even stronger than all of you will also be accompanying you. Momon, responding to the butler's icy voice, a warrior clad in full plate armor poked his helmeted head out of one of the wagons. Up until then, he must have been carrying supplies set on the cargo bed farther in. Allow me to introduce you. This is Momon, from the two-person adventurer team Raven Black, an adamantite rank. His teammate Nabe is also here. These two will accompany you and guard your camp. Will that be satisfactory? The atmosphere underwent another dramatic change. The highest rank possible for anyone adventuring to attain, with proof of that ultimate strength before their eyes, the workers were rendered speechless. Mollified by the genuine reactions of the workers to the appearance of the most elite adventurers, the gold ranks returned to loading supplies. The one who seemed like their leader, wearing a smile that seemed almost deliberate, addressed the Raven Black warrior. We'll do the rest. Would you go ahead and get to know the workers? We'd like you as our leader to have a meeting with them about our security plan. Got it. If your team is fine with that, then I humbly accept your proposal. That said, I think your team should lead the security planning. You have more people. It seems like it would be easier to have you guys do the bulk of it. Humbly, what are you saying? And we could not possibly disregard. No, I insist that you take point on security. Utilize us well, Nabe. With a faint chuckle, he stepped lightly out of the cargo bed. An astonishingly beautiful woman followed behind him. Where a gorgeous woman appeared, a fuss was certain to follow. But there existed a level of beauty that didn't allow for that. Those who saw a truly beautiful woman could only stare. Hecarim, yeah, robber. I was thinking the same thing. We saw her in the northern market, that Momon of Raven Black, and his sole teammate. The rumor that they took out that huge giant basilisk Dosen T seemed to be an exaggeration. A giant, is that true? Supposedly. Not only that, but I heard from Gringham that he killed a difficulty 200 demon in one hit. Surely that's a lie. Difficulty 200 is in a realm where it's impossible for humans to win. Did you mishear 100? Even that would be amazing. But somehow it doesn't seem like a lie when you see how he carries himself. Hecarim felt he'd been able to grasp Momon's personality from the warrior's short exchange with the guy who must have been the gold-rank team's leader. He seemed to have the proper presence and charisma of an adamantite rank adventurer. Hecarim thought he could grow to like him. Before we get to know one another, there's something I'd like to ask you. Momon didn't speak very loudly, but they could sense his courage in his deep voice. Why are you going to the ruins? I know you got a request, but unlike adventurers who have a hard time turning down a job if the guild insists, you guys aren't tied to anything. So why did you accept? What motivates you? The workers all looked at one another. No one knew who should say it. A member of Palpatra's team ended up speaking. That would be money. It was a perfect response. There was no greater reason. The workers hadn't been debating the answer. They were trying to figure out why Momon, who must have already known something so obvious, would even ask. Seeing that the other workers were vocalizing their agreement, Momon asked another question. Does that mean the amount of money offered was worth your lives? Yes. The offer was enough to make it sensible to take the job, and we can expect additional compensation depending on what we discover in the ruins. I am fairly certain it's enough to justify risking our lives, Gringham answered. I see, so that's your decision. Got it. My apologies for the nonsensical question. Do forgive me. You don't need to apologize. No worries, he laughed. Seems like that's it for your questions, but can I ask one? Go right ahead, sir. I'd like confirmation on the rumors. Will you show us the truth of the one that says you Ray exceptionally powerful? He laughed again. Seeing is believing. Okay, that's fine. If it will help you be satisfied with our protection, I'll show you my power. But in what way should I display it? I suppose having you spar with someone would be best. Everyone's eyes gathered on, and I said it, so you should fight me. What, sir? I am terribly sorry, but I am not very good at holding back. I don't intend to hurt you, and I am not confident I can be a good sparring partner at your level, but if that's all right then, he laughed again. Well, you are adamantite rank. I'm not even thinking about hurting you. A faint chuckle came from beneath Momon's helmet. That's only natural, sir. It's what you call a clear gap in ability. I am strong. I am stronger than any of you. That's why I am adamantite rank. Full of overwhelming pride, he seemed to be peering down at them from high above, but no one was offended. That must have been how much power his presence held. The words he spoke and the terrible authority he exuded, as if he'd racked up more than a few kills, were very persuasive. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Delirious voices commented here and there. Many women fell for strong men. And many men fell for them as well, in the sense of respect. Like moths fluttering around a flame, people knew that if they got too close they would get burned. But they still couldn't resist. For those who lived in this world of blood and steel, strength was like a massive bonfire. Higher, higher, higher. No one doubts that you Ray adamantite rank. Still, how about we get a taste of what you can do? Here, the wagons are in the way. Can we use that big open space over there, sir? Having gotten permission from the Countess man, Palpatra led the group over onto the lawn. The workers went with him, of course. The adventurers and the butler went too. I don't think Palpatra can handle him. That guy is crazy strong. He's not just strong. He's on another level completely. Does he seem even stronger than both of the Empire's adamantite teams? Yeah, you Ray right. The members of Argenti all have rare classes, so their abilities are uncommon. But in terms of power, they lose out to the more basic classes. I hear the 8 Ripples are so great because of their numbers and excellent teamwork. Argenti was a team led by a bard who reached the realm of heroes. All the members had unusual classes. 8 Ripples was a 9-person team. Some people said that each individual member hadn't reached adamantite rank. They were only so strong due to their large team size. But others said that by working together, they achieved things even other adamantite ranks couldn't still. One had to wonder if either of them were truly worthy of being called adamantite humanity's last resorts, who made the impossible possible. Hecarim could hear his teammates whispering about those things behind him, and it wasn't just those 3. If he concentrated, he could hear all sorts of conversations. The most common topic was speculation about how good a fight Palpatra would be able to put up. Not a single person thought he would beat Momon. They all considered Momon's aura enough to convince them he was adamantite rank, even though it had been only a short time. As he was walking, lost in thought, someone fell into step beside him. The noisy metal armor was enough for him to know who it was without looking up. How do you think their fight will go, Gringham? I pity Palpatra, but Momon is not likely to lose. It's more about how well Palpatra will be able to persevere. Dost thou not wish to reserve the next round? Seriously, count me out. What about you? I decline. I am satisfied by the display of his superior presence. I do hope, however, to get some training while we Ray on the road. Me too. Oh. The pair looked out at the lawn, where Momon and Palpatra were staring each other down at a distance. The gleam in Palpatra's eyes was not that of an ordinary elderly man, but a veteran warrior. His determination gradually mounted, morphing into excitement. The atmosphere was no longer one of a friendly bout. Everyone watching was anxious and sticky with cold sweat. This can be good. Palpatra is taking this seriously. Gringham inadvertently dropped his forced manner of speaking. I get that he is fighting an adamantite rank adventurer, so he has to go at him like he means to kill him, but Hecarim, next to Gringham, gasped as he moved his eyes to the dark warrior facing Palpatra. From Momon, he felt nothing. In his stance with both arms dangling down, there was none of the fighting spirit one would expect from someone who was about to clash swords. Like an adult facing a child with a sword, his calm was clearly visible. Wow, he is amazing. Palpatra is hitting him with that much killing intent, and he is not reacting at all. He can not notice it. He is just at the peak of warriordom. Is that heights of nothingness, enlightened mind, or maybe realm of the wandering priest? He must be awfully sure of himself to look so composed despite the gap between their weapons. Yeah, I am just amazed. Palpatra's spear was a magic item with a tip carved from a dragon tooth. Meanwhile, Momon was holding a wooden staff he borrowed from one of the adventurers. It didn't look enchanted at all.